Let me ask you a simple question. What does this switch do? When I flip this switch, whatever the switch controls turns on. When I flip it again, whatever the switch controls turns off. Simple, right? Well, inside your processor, flags work exactly the same way. They're simply virtual electronic switches that are either cleared, meaning off or false, or they may be set, meaning on or true. The RTI programmer can set up to 256 flags on the processor to perform a variety of tasks. And once you understand that, flags become one of the most powerful tools in Integration Designer. Welcome to Flag Fundamentals. Today we're going to learn what flags are, why they are used, and how we program them in Integration Designer. Inside Integration Designer, I'm going to review 3 different applications where flags may be used. Before we begin, let's review some of the necessary areas of Integration Designer required for flag operations. In the Macro Steps tab, there is a flag tool. This tool is used to set, clear, or toggle a flag state. No different from our virtual switch. The if flag set can test that flag state within a macro and act on that flag state with an if else statement. Before using these tools, you can name a flag by selecting the red flag icon in the Tag Editor toolbar. You can apply a name to 256 processor flags, making it easier to recognize and organize flags by their purpose. Let's start by using flags for different applications, starting with the weather. In this scenario, the client has a local weather page where they live. Since the client travels to different office branches, they want to change the weather page to country. This will help them prepare for travel. I'm going to create a button on the weather page that will pop up a list of cities. Once the client selects the city, the weather page will change to reflect the weather in that city. This is a perfect application for flags. With that said, let's create our interface. I'm going to select the Bitmap tab, and I'm going to bring in a button in an available part of the interface. I'll put it right here in the toolbar. I'll make it a little larger, and let's label it Cities. I'll change the font size and the font style to bold, and that'll be our Cities button. Let's give it a tag. We'll call it Pop-Up Cities. And now once we have a tag, let's expose the macro window, click on Source, and now before we program anything, let's click on the Edit Flags icon. From here, we're going to select one of the flags and designate it as the switch we're going to use to set on and off or set and cleared. I'm going to go with flag 1, and let's call this Cities Pop-Up, and click OK. Now that we have our flag name, let's go to our macro steps, and let's bring in our flag statement. Just double click it, and now we're going to select the right one, and we can now set our cities pop-up. And when we set our cities pop-up, it's going to pop up a layer that we're going to create now. So let's go to the layer window, and let's click Add a new blank layer. And let's call this Cities Pop-Up. Where it says Visible, this field is usually used with driver feedback. Let's click the ellipsis menu, and instead of selecting a driver from the drop-down, we're going to select XP Macro Flags. And now we're going to select Flag 1, Cities Pop-Up. Click OK, and now our pop-up will be dependent on that flag Cities Pop-Up being set. Once it's set, that layer will be exposed. Once it's cleared, that layer will be hidden. Let's click OK. Now that we have our layer, let's click the Bitmaps field, and let's bring in a pop-up background. I'm going to bring this just below the Cities Pop-Up, and I'm going to make this big enough to fit a few cities. That should be good. Make it a little bigger. And I'm going to center it right on the button. Now that we have our cities pop-up, I'm going to disable this, at least temporarily, while I drag buttons to it. Now I can drag buttons to it without overlaying it onto the button and becoming part of the button. Let's create 4 different buttons. I'll create 2 here and 2 on the bottom. And let's label these buttons. Well, first we'll center them on the layer pop-up. And now let's layer them with different cities. I'll call the first button New York. I'll label the second button Chicago. The third button will be LA. And the fourth button is where the client normally lives in Miami. That'll get him back to his local weather forecast. Now I'm going to format these buttons, make them look a little better. I'll make the font 14 and make them bold, and I'll make all the other buttons conform to that button. Those look good. Now you want to tag these buttons. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the tag window, and I'm going to call this set location, New York. And then I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste that into Chicago. And I'm going to change this tag to Chicago. Set location, Chicago. Let's set the other 2 tags with LA and Miami. Now that we have our tags, let's program our commands. I'm going to put the local zip codes for each of these locations. So I'm going to click on source, and I'm going to go to the macro steps and bring in a command. First command I'm going to bring in is from the weather driver, and I'm going to use the set location. And now I'm going to enter in the New York zip code, which is 10001. Next, I'm going to copy this function, and I'm going to paste it into Chicago. And I'm going to put in the local Chicago zip, which is 60601. Then LA, which is 90012. And then Miami, which is 33101. Now that I have my pop-up, I'm now ready to go and look at the programming. So what will happen? The client will select cities, and now the flag cities pop-up will be set. That will make the cities pop-up visible. And now the client can select from the city list, but we still need a way for the pop-up to go away. And that's where we clear the flag. So we could do one of 3 things. First, we can make each function clear the flag. So we would clear the flag, but that will limit the client to only being able to select one city at a time, right? So I don't really like that idea. So I'm going to delete that. Another idea is to put a small little exit button on the bottom of this window, which will exit the pop-up when the client is done. And this would be an exit button. And this will have a exit pop-up tag. And now this will clear the flag, which will make the pop-up go away when the client's done. But I'd like to use as much room as possible on these pop-ups. And while that's a pretty good idea, I think for a few selections, there's even a better idea. So I'm going to delete this. We still need a way for the client to exit this pop-up. So what I'm going to do with this cities function, instead of setting the flag cities pop-up, I'm going to toggle it. And now once I toggle it, when I select it once, it will toggle the flag from clear to set and pop up the cities. Now the client can select multiple cities and pack accordingly. And then when he's done, he can hit the cities pop up again, and that will go away. There's some things we can do to enhance the user experience. One thing we can do is reverse state this button when the pop-up is displayed. And the way you do that is you go down to the variable on the button, click on source, and where it says reversed, click the ellipsis. And now from the drop-down, we're going to select our XP macro flags and select the cities pop-up. Now, when that pop-up is displayed, the button will also reverse state. Let's check out what it looks like. So now the client will know that that button is active, and if he selects it again, the flag will clear, thus hiding the pop-up and setting the button back to the normal state. So this is pretty good. This will work perfectly. And that's one thing you can use flags for, to trigger voluntary pop-ups. Those are the pop-ups that aren't going to be driven by driver feedback. For example, a mute status on a receiver or audio distribution amp will create a pop-up for the client that says the system is muted. However, this kind of a pop-up is voluntarily activated for the client whenever he wants to select from his list of cities. Let's move on to our next sample where we're going to use flags to track the relay state of our front gate. Let's click on the front gate interface. Now over here I have two buttons, one that's going to open the front gate using a relay, gate open, and one that's going to close the relay, which is going to close the gate. So these two commands here are already finished. The issue is relays aren't trackable with any kind of feedback. So we're going to use flags to track the relay state. Now there's a couple of ways to do this. The best way to do this is to run a sense input to the gate mechanism. And so when the gate has a dry contact closure, it will send a signal, meaning goes high, to the processor. And there we can set a flag called gates open. But when the gate mechanism, dry contact, opens, that creates a gate closed situation. And that sense input goes low. And therefore we want to clear a flag. So what we could do here is go to our flag values here, and I could create two flags. I can create one called gate open, and I could create another one called gate closed. And now I have two different flags. So when I open the gate, I want this sense input to set that flag for me. But when I close the gate, I want that sense input to clear that flag for me. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to click on the XP6 processor, and we're going to create a sense event. We're going to click Add New Event, Add Sense Event, and we're going to pick Sense 1, which I've designated as my gate status. Okay, so let's select gate status. Now, when that gate status goes high, that means the gate is open. So let's click OK and save that for now. And let's create a couple of macros on our front gate. I'm going to click the front gate and then click on macro list. This is going to allow you to create a macro on the processor. I'm going to click the little piece of paper here that says add a new macro. And I'm going to call this gate is, and then I'm going to create another one called gate is closed. So what do we want to do when the gate's open? Well, the first thing we want to do is set the flag gate open. But we also want to make sure that the gate closed is cleared. So I'm going to bring in another flag statement, set it to clear, and I'm going to say gate closed is cleared. That way, when the gate's open, the flag for gate open is set, but the flag for gate closed is cleared. And now I'm going to copy both of these by holding down the Shift key, selecting copy, and I'm going to select gates closed and paste. And now I'm going to do the opposite here. I'm going to clear the gates open, but I'm going to set the gates closed. Now on our sense event, let's click the processor and then click on this first sense event here, gate status. So what do we want to do when the gate status goes high, meaning open? Well, we want to run that macro in the office under the front gate called gate is open, which will set the gate status open field to flag to high or set the gate is closed flag to cleared. And now that will take care of when the gate's open. Let's put a little description in here. Gate open, flag is set. Now, what about when the gate closes? Let's create another event. Let's call it sense event again. Same thing now. We're going to test that sense input going to the gate status dry contact. And we're going to say now when the gate goes low, we're going to run that office front gate is closed. And now click OK. And now we're going to just put the description is gate closed is set. Okay, now that we have our flags being set using that sense input, let's go back to the front gate interface and let's make this reverse state when the gate's open. So when the gate's open, we want to click on the source variable, click reversed. And now we're going to pick XP macro flags and we're going to go with gate open. So when gate's open, that will be reverse state. Now with the gates closed, we're going to reverse state this when the XP macro flag gate closed is set. And there you go. Now another thing we can do is to create an icon that pops up on the screen showing the status of the gate. So the gate's either open or closed. It's always one or the other. So what we're going to do is create two layers. First, I'm going to create a layer called gate open. Okay. And now this will be visible when the XP macro flag gate open is set. Click OK. And now we're going to create another one. Gate is closed. And this is going to be visible when the gate closed is set. Of course, gate open will be cleared when gate closed will be set. Okay. And now let's put some graphics on here. I'm going to go to my bitmaps. I'm going to select all libraries and I'm going to look for a gate open. Here's one. So let's put that on the open one for now. I'll resize it and we'll put that in the corner. Now, I also want to put one for gate is closed. So let's look for the same graphic with the closed state. And that looks like the graphic. Let's bring that in. Let's make sure it's the same size. And let's make sure that we move this to the gate is closed layer. And now we're going to put them right on top of each other using the alignment tools. So now the gate will be normally closed. The flag is cleared. So this will reverse state, as you can see here. This will be normal, but when the gate's closed, this will be reversed, and the gate closed will show up. However, when the gate's open, whether somebody opens the gate at the gate or the button does it, the sense input will go high. And now this will go back to its normal state. This will reverse state. And now you'll see the gate open icon. All done with flags. Now, in addition, you could even take this a little further. I could go to the main controls here where it says front gate. And now I can let's edit text. And after front gate, I want to include the gate status using the flag status. So let's bring that in a text tag. We'll call it gate status. Okay. And now let's program this. For the gate status, we're going to use the XP macro flag. So let's use the gates closed macro flag. So we'll just use one. We don't need to use both because this flag will either be set or cleared. If it's set, the gate's closed. If it's cleared, the gate's open, or vice versa. So now we have this XP macro flag that says gates closed. So when gates closed is true, I don't want it to say front gate is false or front gate is true. So I'm going to click the edit here. and it's going to give me a little bit of a decoder which says text when variable is true, when it's false, it's false. So if gate is closed, if that flag is true, we want it to say front gate is closed. But when it's false, that means that gate's open. So we want to say is open. And now click OK. And now it'll either say front gate's open or front gate is closed. You'll reverse state. Your icon here will show either the closed state or the open state, one or the other. Now, of course, a flag status is always defaults to cleared from the beginning. Okay, let's move on to the last lesson. We have a projector here. Now, this is an IR device, but the problem is we only have a power toggle. There's no discrete power on and off. So we can use a flag to track the power state in this example. So what we're going to do is first declare our flag value. Let's click Edit Flags. Let's select flag 4, which is empty, and we'll call this projector status. And the idea is to make sure our flag corresponds to the right projector status. So if the projector is on, our flag should be set. The projector status flag should be set. But if our projector is off, our projector flag status should be set to cleared. And it's our job as RTI programmers to make sure that those states stay in sync with each other. So let's click OK. And now, before we send that power toggle, we want to make sure we test if that flag is true or false on the projector on. This is, again, designed to turn on our projector and switch inputs. So we want to make sure that when we send this power toggle in our intent to turn on the projector, that we're making sure that that projector is off. So what I'm going to do is go to my macro steps, and I'm going to bring in an if flag set statement up top here. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the right flag projector status. Now the goal is if the flag projector status is set, that means that the projector is on. But if the flag status for the projector status is cleared, that must mean the projector is off. And it's our job again to make sure that those two states stay in sync. So if the flag is set on a projector on button, well, we don't want to turn it on because it's already on. Somebody else already turned it on and set the flag. But else, if it's not set, we want to power toggle it on, wait about 30 seconds, 35 seconds, and that's all we need to do. And so if we do this, though, who is going to set the flag the first time the projector is powered on? Well, that's our job. So we're going to bring in a flag statement as well. And we're going to bring that in right inside the else side. And we're going to set the projector status flag. And so the very first time you walk into the room, the projector's off, the flag is cleared. It's going to ask, is the flag set projector status? Meaning, is the projector on? Well, if it's not on, we'll put a little delay in there. We'll do like a 0.3 second delay. If the projector's already on, it's going to send a 0.3 second delay and then jump out and switch inputs. But if you press this and the projector's already on, it's going to say, if the flag is set, it's not set. So it's going to power toggle the projector on, wait 35 seconds, set the flag for next time, and now it'll finish after 35 seconds and switch inputs. So that is how you can use a flag to track the status. We set the flag corresponding to the first power toggle that's used to turn on the projector. Again, if flag is set, meaning is if the projector is on, don't do anything. But if the flag isn't set, the projector must be off. So else, I will power toggle it on, wait about 35 seconds, set the flag to tell the system that the power is indeed on, and then switch the inputs. And this is a much better client experience than having to wait 35 seconds every time the projector's on. And more importantly, the power toggle will turn the projector off instead of turning it on if we didn't have that flag if flag set statement. Now, if you set a flag when you turn on the projector, it's important for the routine that turns off the projector that you do the same thing. So this is meant to turn the projector off. We can't just blindly turn it off. We have to check to see if it's on before we turn it off. So let's bring in another flag statement, and we're going to select the right flag. So if the projector status flag is set, the projector must be on. So we're going to send 2 power toggles to turn it off. That's usually a pop-up screen that says, are you sure you want to turn the projector off? Else, if the projector is already off, we don't want to do anything, and let's put that little 0.3 delay there as an else side. And so if you do this, don't forget to clear the flag after you turn off the projector. So we want to clear that projector status flag after the projector has been turned on. Now, a couple of caveats with flags. Obviously, a system variable is going to be 100% bulletproof, but with a flag, you, the programmer, are telling the system what the status of the device is by basically counting button presses. So you're turning on that switch or setting that flag when the projector status is turned on or set. And then when that projector is turned off, you're clearing the flag, meaning the projector is now off. And because of that, there are a couple of things you have to be concerned about. Number one, you, the programmer, are doing the setting and clearing of the flags. So you have to be careful that you've included the logic the correct way. Make sure on the projector on that you are setting the flag to correspond to the projector turning on. And on the projector off, make sure you're clearing the flag. So that's one little thing that would be a problem if you didn't set or clear the flag in the right place. Caveat number 2, this flag status is set by you, the programmer, again. And what that means is if this projector turns on and now this runs and the flag is set, and now you have either a power outage or the client turned off the projector manually, well, the system isn't going to tell, the integration designer isn't going to know that that flag is cleared. It's still going to be set. And so your projector will be kind of off track. So in other words, it'll be on, but the flag will be cleared. Or it'll be off and the flag will be set. So make sure that if you do have a situation where you can lose power or anything else, that you give the client a power button on the interface to be able to get that thing back on. So those are a couple of caveats with flags that you have to be concerned about. Now, again, we give you 256 flags on the processor. Another thing is, if you're using a lot of flags, you're probably doing something incorrect, most likely, depending on your system. There's always other ways and better ways to do things. System manager, system variables are a much better way, but just give us a call if you're not sure. In the last segment, we're going to talk about local flags. Local flags are virtual electronic switches that are contained on a controller versus the processor. These flags are going to solve problems as well. We're going to switch to a different system and demonstrate the importance of local flags. In this system file, I have 3 ISR4s, and each one has the same exact weather page. So for example, on this weather page, I have a cities pop-up that is popping up a XP flag, which is popping up a pop-up, which is backed by an XP flag pop-up. And so each of these controllers is doing exactly the same thing. Now, the problem with this scenario is that on each controller, if you select the cities button up top, this will toggle the flag and pop up the pop-up on every single controller. So how can you get around that? Well, if you're using a controller that's capable of standalone, you can use something called local flags. Let's show you how this works. On every controller that supports standalone, they also support their own local flags. If you click on the controller and then click on Properties, you'll find a flag name field. These are the local flags built onto the controller. So in addition to 256 macro flags, you get 256 controller flags that can be used, and they're exclusive to that controller. Meaning, if you set it on a controller, then no other controllers will be aware of that flag status. So let's name our flag. Let's call it Cities Pop-Up, but we're going to call it Standalone next to it. And that should indicate the standalone status of our controller. Click OK. And now on our weather page for this controller, we don't want to toggle the cities pop-up, so we're going to remove that. Instead, we're going to create a controller level macro in standalone, and we're going to create a flag, and we're going to set or toggle the local city standalone. In the same instance, we're going to go to the cities pop-up, and instead of using the XP flag, we're going to click on the ellipsis menu, and then instead of using XP macro flags, we're going to use our local macro flags and set the local cities pop-up standalone. And now this pop-up will only apply to this controller. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other IS4. We're going to head to its own local flags. We're going to call it Pop-Up Cities Standalone. And we're also going to do the same exact thing on the weather page. We're going to create a controller macro in Standalone, use the local flag toggle, and we're going to go to the cities pop-up and change the XP macro flag to a local macro flag. Only controllers that are capable of standalone can have local macro flags, but these prevent the pop-up from popping up on every controller. Instead, you can have a separate experience. Now, there's other ways to do things. If you have a controller that doesn't have standalone capability, for example, if you have a controller that doesn't support standalone, you can use a layer switch, and there's other drivers out there that give you some local flags outside of Integration Designer. We're not going to talk about those today. Instead, we're going to focus just on flags. And that's the fundamentals of flags. Now, you could use flags for lots of other things. You could use them for avoiding delays, for accessing a his and her interface. You could use it for setting a passcode. Flags come in handy for lots of different reasons. Again, 256 processor flags that you can check the flag status and create an if-else statement, and you have on standalone capable controllers local flags that can be set or cleared as well. That's it for XP macro flags. Let's answer some questions, and thank you for watching.